Good morning, everyone. I'm glad you're here today. And if you have any questions during the little presentation here this morning, feel free to just type them in the box there on your screen. Happy to try to answer and help out however I can. I can get this, there we go. Yeah, so let's get rolling here. So of course, talk a little bit about risk here as always. And it's really important, you know, because so many folks overlook the fact that, yeah, you got to put your capital at risk. And sometimes human emotions take over versus good decision making. And therefore, you got to remember that only trade risk capital with money you can afford to lose. You know, don't trade the rent money, food money, that sort of thing. Nadex is provides fantastic tools, but even at that, you can still lose money. Okay, so be aware of that. All right, that's me. Been at this for a long time. Putting that number up there in that first sentence kind of dates myself, but that's the reality of the situation. All right. Well, if you've been joining me, folks, for, gosh, I don't know how many weeks we've been doing this now, but I really appreciate you being here. In the morning, I've been battling something or other, upper respiratory thing for a couple weeks, on the tail end of that, thank goodness. But if I do hit the pause button now and again, no worries. I just don't want to cough in your ear. So we'll leave it at that. Anyway, going to take a look here at a couple of the news calendars that I typically review most every day, at least every Monday, because that way I'm aware of what's happening for the week. And the ones I like to review are either here at forexfactory.com, their calendar, or my FX book. Both of those are really good. Let's bring those over here. Give me just a second, and we'll look at the news here for the rest of the week. All right, so this is the Forex Factory calendar. You just get here by going to forexfactory.com, and then you'll see on the homepage the calendar, but the tab is right up here. And as I've shown most every week here, I like to just filter this news because there's a lot of events that they don't have any impact on the markets. And one of the cool things that Forex Factory does is they put a impact folder essentially next to the news event. So you can see here over on the left side of the screen, high impact events are red, medium are orange, and low are yellow, and then you have non-economic events, which are gray. And so the only ones I personally care about are the high impact events. So I just filter this out. I come up here to this filter, click there, and just uncheck all these boxes right here where it says expected impact. I leave that red one on there, hit apply filter, and there you go. You can see the news for the week. And so today, for example, at 10 a.m., we have out of the US consumer confidence report, and then later today we have some news out of New Zealand. Now that doesn't really affect anything to do with what we can trade on Nadex per se, because the New Zealand dollar isn't tradable there. But we have tomorrow a couple of big reports coming out of Canada at 10 a.m. Eastern time. These are all Eastern time, and we have the Bank of Canada rate statement and the overnight rate, and then we have the news out of Australia and New Zealand. And then later, you know, I just noticed here that, hold on just a second here, because they took something off here that was on here yesterday. I think I'm on the wrong week here. We're on the wrong week. That's the problem. I was going to say, where is we should go from there to there. Actually, let's just set this properly here. There we go. All right, so I'm not sure how that got onto that, but let's just, this is why, because I knew the FOMC meeting is this week. And so we're just going to focus on the top events here, this other event, rather than me spend a lot of time adjusting the calendar here. This is what we want to pay attention to. So tomorrow we have out of the US, that would be here, right here, this event, FOMC. We do have one news event tomorrow out of Canada. Okay, the other one I looked at here is for next week. All right, And then we have Thursday, a lot of news out of Europe, and then US and Great Britain on Friday. So big thing tomorrow. So the markets may be a little bit choppy kind of going into that meeting. It used to be that you could kind of judge, the market would rally into the Fed meeting or Fed minutes, and but that's not so much the case anymore. But anyway, the point is showing you these events is that, be aware of them. If you are contemplating a position just prior to that, say within an hour or so of the event, maybe hold off and wait till after the event passes for an hour or so, allow the market to settle down a bit. We also have over here this calendar on my FX book, and you can find very similar. And here you just come up to where it says more, click that drop down, choose the impact you want to show. Like I'll unselect medium and come down here and click save, and there you see all the high impact events. So tomorrow we have out of Europe here, the European Central Bank President Draghi's speech. So that'll have some effect on the markets. Anyway, there you go. Just a quick look at some of the news events here. And there you go, to be aware of that. All right, so what we want to do next is go to the charts. So let me bring the charts up. I didn't see that, Bill, anything with European elections on there, but glad you mentioned this, so you may want to check into that. All right, so here we are looking at the S&P 500, E-mini S&P 500. And what I want to take a look at here today, we look over here on my quote board, the markets listed in the top here. I have the E-mini S&P on the very top, so 15 points right now, a little over 0.5% on the morning. Then we have the SPX, that won't start trading until the bottom of the hour, but then the Dow, the NASDAQ, and the Russell. And you can see all the futures contracts are up on the morning, up 0.5% or more, it looks like, real close to that. This being the S&P, I do want to pull up the daily chart here, just take a quick look at this. And you can see here off this daily chart. Now I have a lot of stuff on here. It can be a bit confusing if you're not used to looking at it, but really it's just marking off support and resistance levels. Support and resistance zones. If you see the colored rectangles, those are zones that I identify for myself to be rather important. And what I want to point out here this morning with this on the daily chart is the market came right up into this zone and got rejected, and ever since has drifted lower and came all the way back down to this green zone. It may be a little hard to see on your screen, and then bounced and came up, and this was another zone here, another resistance zone. So if I get rid of that, and I want to draw a little Fibonacci retracement here from this high to that low, and you see the market came almost exactly 50% on the retracement here, and then backed off that day when it reached it, and then the following day, which was yesterday. And now we are currently waiting for the open here at the bottom of the hour. Currently the candle's an inside candle, meaning it fits inside yesterday's entire trading range, which is, if the day finished that way, kind of a day of indecision. Not something that's out of the question, though, at least going into the Fed meeting minutes to see how that news is absorbed. All right, so we're really kind of in between the two major pivots on the chart. We have that one right there and this right here. So you can see how the market's just kind of stuck in the middle of this, kind of deciding, bears or bulls, who's in charge. All right, so let's work our way down here real quick. See what we got here going for this morning or this week. This is a 4-hour chart. And again, you can see how the market rallied and then pulled back and then rallied again stuck in kind of no man's land. One of the things that, I look at, I have this little proprietary momentum indicator here, and it is flat. It is flat, and that tells me that I need to stand aside right now because there's no momentum in either direction, at least on the 4-hour time frame. Okay, so let's just work our way down here. So next I have an 81-minute chart. And again, here you can see, a little bit more focus here with price just below that resistance zone. This reddish, light red zone here is a resistance zone I have marked on the chart. Also, and it may be a little difficult to see, we have moving averages acting as support and resistance. That's kind of pinning price here, and specifically, we have resistance right here and support right here. So we have kind of a flag, kind of a bull flag pattern that's developed. Now here, momentum has shifted. We have momentum moving up here at the moment. But again, we're waiting on the open here at the bottom of the hour to see how things start off here for this morning. But we've lost kind of a cycle here at the moment. So again, what I'm seeing here is some indecisiveness here in the market at this point. All right, so let's go to, this is my 27-minute chart. On Nadex, of course, you could use a half-hour chart, 30-minute chart. Instead of an 81-minute chart, you could use an hourly chart. All right, so then we have, kind of this area here, a little channel. And you can see again, on this time frame, we have flattened momentum. The other thing too is I'm a big believer in looking for divergence type of setups. Basically, my momentum indicators moving one direction, price is moving the other. And here, if I look at price at this pivot high, we could come all the way over here, in fact. We basically from high to a higher high, and here on the momentum indicator, high to a much lower high. So that's telling me momentum is waning from price action. Now we almost have, we can come back here even further. Here, we can go here to here as well. All right, so with that in mind, let's take a closer look here at this area. Really right in here. This is a support level, 2851. So that's about eight handles right there to fill that ellipse in, to move down into that ellipse and through it. But we do have that support I mentioned from the moving averages there. So the market won't likely just pierce it right away. It may struggle there. All right, so let's mark that off. Let's sync that on all the charts. And now we'll go down to the 9-minute. Now in the 9-minute, I think you can clearly see there's a double top here, right? High, essentially equal high, maybe slightly higher, but that's okay. Look at the difference here. So we have, if we go from real body candle to real body candle, we have a pretty flat line on price, but look at momentum, clearly not the same. And this is pretty much the same as price. So I've definitely lost some momentum here. And again, now you look at this, and this is kind of an area of support that we have right below price. Let's see here. Basically right in this region, right below this area of price action. So now you can see here, and what I like to do when I find these areas like the ellipse, I like to anticipate that if the market's going to move towards that direction, it is likely with a high probability of moving into it at least halfway. Now, no guarantees, of course, but this is just my analysis over the many years I've been doing this. But that's not saying this is going to happen at the moment, right? Because I'm still waiting to see what happens at the open, because right now the market's kind of dead. Got another 15 minutes before the open comes about. Now here on the 3-minute chart, you can see that double top even clearer. For those, some of you may be more familiar with a 1, let's see, 2, 3 pattern, same thing. You see how the market's already broken down off the high here. Again, we had really from this high here over here, and we had a definite loss in momentum there. So the bottom line is we've had a loss of momentum. We have a double top in place, and the market is kind of stuck in between the pivots here. The pivots being these pointy areas, if you will. That's all one there. I would count that. You see how it's in the middle of this? When a market's in the middle of a range, what can it do? It has a high probability of going either way. There's nothing real decisive in my book. All right, so let's move on to the next market. We're going to take a look here at gold this morning. It is on the move here. This is the June futures contract. Can you get a similar view using Nadex charts of the market as you have with bar charts? Yeah, you just have to set them up, Bertrand, however you desire. You can set up the charts on Nadex using the Nadex platform. I use bar chart because I trade, not only do I trade Nadex, but I trade other markets as well. And I can get, you know, all the different, from stocks to futures to forex on here. All right, so this is gold. Let's take a quick look at this. One thing this morning, it has moved down into this support region here. I've had this on here for quite a while. You can see it's been tested several times. And now here again. Now the difference is, let me show you this here real fast. The difference is on this move down into this zone is this. Look at the momentum here at these levels, and we have that one's negative, but quite a bit less momentum. Other than, actually, I guess this one's pretty close right here. But my point is, look at how the market has lost momentum on the move down. So in other words, the momentum to the downside has been rather strong. Now, the markets don't tend to move straight up, straight down for very long, so we're going to get retracement. So you have the move down, and then you have a retrace in momentum. And if you look at price, remember we were just looking at the S&P, and I was talking about divergence. If we come over here, look at this from low to lower low, and we have a diverging move here at this point. So when I see a market that is divergent, I look for it to seek out the nearest level of support or resistance. And for here, being divergent, we would anticipate, or I would anticipate, that we're going to see some sort of move up, and to test right in here. You see, that's about a $3.50 range or so to get up to that level. That's the nearest level of resistance coming in on this downward move. So I'm not, again, this is a 4-hour chart, so this is going to take some time to unfold. Each candle here represents 4 hours, or actually 243 minutes to be exact. Does momentum depend on the number of players in the market? You know, I guess to some degree, but more so, is there more buying than selling? That's really what I'm looking at. You know, the supply and demand, that sort of thing, and that's really what this indicator takes into consideration. Good questions, though. Bill says I think that was in reference to the European elections. They start on Thursday, usually have a huge impact. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so this is a key level of support, this zone here. This zone is, see, 1270, almost 12.8, it's 1271. It's about a $4.50, $5 range here of support. All right, so let's go down here to, again, 80. Again, all my charts are in 3-minute, or I'm sorry, in multiples of 3, so, or divisible by 3. So I go from 243 down to 81. So 81 times 3 is 243. All right, so you can see here that price that sold off pretty hard here. This was earlier this morning, came right down, stalled out here at the top of the support zone, and it's just at the moment just hovering around here trying to find if it's going to fill in this wick. This is another thing that's important. You can all watch when a market makes a wick here, price likes to fill those areas in. So if that's the case, we can see here that's that low is 1270.20. So about $1.10 away from filling that wick in. It doesn't mean that there's a guarantee to do it. Markets like to seek out some of that price range, that price action, if you will. All right, so you can see how it's kind of hovering around here. Let's go down to the 27-minute chart. And I'm just looking for some clarity here. I see a lot of momentum at the moment to the downside, and specifically what I'm looking at is this guy here. When it's red, that's strong momentum to the downside. If it starts to turn into a lighter red colored or almost a whitish red, that means it's losing momentum to the downside. Same to the upside. Here's a good example. See how strong it was right there? Pretty dark red, if you will. Then see how it got lighter over here. So the market, moved down and then started to lose that downward momentum, and then the market just drifted. And you can see here it really was losing momentum at that point. So over here, losing a bit of that momentum to the downside. Doesn't tell me exactly where the market's going to turn per se, but just give me a heads up that we're losing some momentum. All right, so what I'm looking for at this level is some sort of tell that either one, through a chart pattern at the support level, two, a flip in momentum back to the upside, or a continuation move to the downside here with momentum. So we're on the 27-minute. Now we're going to go down to the 9-minute. So let's look at this. So really have kind of a range or a channel through here. The market broke through that, came back, in an attempt to retest the bottom of that channel. Look at the momentum, how it's shifted here on this time frame, just about at zero. Zero is right there, meaning all that momentum to the downside has been lost for the time being. So this, because the market also, I use this blue line that you see on the chart, 50-period moving average, as an indication of trend, and I use it just looking at the angle of the line. Right now you can see on this time frame it is a downtrend is in place. So this is that first retrace in this trend right here. All right, so we don't have much momentum either direction. This is the closest thing so far that I've seen of a potential chart pattern that could allow for a potential trading opportunity. But I don't like to sell into support. So if I was to look to trade this retrace in trend, I'd want to sell it, right? But we're in this support zone, so that doesn't leave a lot to be desired at the moment. I'd much rather see a deeper retrace. If I do a Fibonacci retracement measurement from that high to this current low. So the market actually hit the 50 right on the button, but I'd like to see a deeper retrace rather than just a tag, rather than just tagging it. I'd like to see the market push up a little bit higher with consecutive candles and have the oscillator. Actually, you can see here with the oscillator, it did not get up here to this range here of what I like to call more or less a cycle high area, right around the 80 area. So I need a deeper push before I'm going to look to short this here this morning, or in other words, sell some binaries, sell some spreads, whatever. And now we go down to the 3-minute chart. We have an inverted head and shoulder pattern that's trying to set up, which is a reversal pattern. So see how we get some conflict here. So this would be a pattern that we look for the market to move a bit higher. So at the moment, just more indecisiveness, which is not unusual for this time, just ahead of a Fed meeting. It's just the meeting minutes. But if we come down here, the chart in the lower left corner, I think you'll get a good view here when I do this. Look at this. Just a big range, big channel that we talked about. And you can see that covers the last 3 or 4 trading days. All right. So again, watching the S&P, watching gold, and the next market I want to take a look at here this morning is actually a forex pair, and it's been on the move here this morning. It's the pound yen, and let's just start over here on the 4-hour chart. See, you can see the resistance zone. The market ramped up, bounced off of this level of support that I have drawn down here, which stretches way to your left off the screen here, but put in a double bottom pattern. So we have low, high, and actually a couple lows right here, but really ramped up. The third candle, that green candle, really ramped up and ran all the way to the edge of that resistance zone. Look at momentum though, clearly angled to the upside here. So this market is showing a lot of strength here at the moment. Strength to the upside. Let's look at the 81-minute chart. All right. So that you can see, if we look left here, look at how, in just talking about zones or areas, look how important this area is right here. The market it's come into this region, many candles, many candles. So that's why the market at the moment is struggling right here, because this area has been touched so many times, but it hasn't relinquished this strength. In other words, it's acting as a strong ceiling at the moment. All right, so again, strong momentum to the upside. In fact, we have even the oscillator angled sharply higher as well. Oops, my bad. Let me fix that. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go down here to one more time frame. We'll go down to the essentially a half-hour chart, which you can definitely load up on Nadex. And let's draw a support line right below these lows here. And all right, so you see the market sitting on that at this moment. Again, strong momentum energy to the upside in this market. So my thought here, just looking at these first three charts, is I want to see some sort of retracement to a support level and then look for an opportunity to get on board to the upside. But I need to see that retracement. In other words, buy low, sell high. Let's get an idea where would be a good level. So I'm going to use, again, Fibonacci retracement. I'm going to draw a box on the chart here to represent a region or a range that I like to focus on with Fibonacci numbers, and it's the 382% retracement, including the 50% retracement and the 618. That's what a Fibonacci box, just call it that. So that's that region. So now I don't need to have all these numbers cluttering the chart, and I'll just box that off right there. So I would prefer to see the market come down and, you know, at least to this region here, this line. You see how that's a support level. It's also just above the 382 area. So that is roughly from the current level, which is 140.67-ish, down to, we need to see about a 25 pip decline, 25 pip pullback, which I think in turn would allow this oscillator to actually cycle back to the downside here. So it would give us an opportunity perhaps to buy at a cycle low, which is where I want to be buying. Momentum is still very strong, so we get any sort of retrace, just anticipating that it's not going to be a super big retrace. In other words, a loss of all momentum to the upside. Don't anticipate that to be the case. But we have a lot of strength here to the upside in this pair. Now, we are, again, just like gold, if you want to flip this on its ear, this is into a resistance zone, isn't it? Gold was into a support zone. And remember how I mentioned I don't want to sell into support on gold. Well, it's the same thing here. I don't want to buy into resistance. I want to have the market pull back. So I wait for the setup. If the setup doesn't come, I look for, I'm looking constantly for other opportunities, but I don't want to force anything. That's how you get hung out to dry, and you have to sit through, trades that end up being, maybe you end up calling it right eventually, but your timing was wrong because of you had to sit through and take a lot of heat. Maybe the binaries expire, and then you were right in the end, but your timing was wrong, and so you end up with a losing trade rather than just being patient and waiting for the market to do what you need it to do. So the bottom line there is, don't force your opinion on the market. Let the market tell you what to do. Sometimes they'll tell you to stay out, and like it's telling me right now, it's saying, hey man, you need to stay out of this. Other times they say you need to jump on, right? Bob said, thanks for your chart interpretation. I'm learning a lot. Yeah, you bet, Bob. Scott says, is the CTM indicators your own indicator? Yes, they are, Scott, and they're only available on a bar chart or on our futures site. So yeah, it's not available for any other platforms. All right, so there's a couple things. Unfortunately, let's take a look at the stock market before we get out of here this morning. It really hasn't moved much. We'll load it back up here, but you can see how it came into the ellipse. Remember, I drew that out, and I had the line here on the 9-minute chart. Hasn't quite reached it yet, but the market's been open for like a minute. But you can see right here, see how it came into the ellipse, that area. Remember, I talked about moving averages, support. Well, we also have that gold line I put in there about the halfway point. So we'll see if that gets tagged here this morning as well. So double top is holding at the moment, and we'll see if we get a little bit of a push lower. So that's one thing. Let's look at gold. Gold down 6:30 in the morning, really hasn't changed. You can see it did make a lower low here just in the last few minutes. Remember, I outlined the head and shoulder pattern. This was the shoulder I had used, or point I'd used for the shoulder originally. You can see it's pushed lower now. So one of the things too, before I get out of here today, trading is a real mental game, and it's something we're not taught anywhere else, right? We're not taught about how to deal with this type of thing. And honestly, my experience of 30 plus years doing this, it doesn't matter your background at all, whether you are, you're a retiree, you're a stay-at-home mom or dad, you're a high-powered attorney or engineer. None of that matters, because this is a whole different ballgame. You really have to leave your ego on the sidelines. So there'll be times like if gold breaks down here, you got to let it go. This is just me talking. I have to let it go, because markets are going to move, and I'm not going to be on every single move. So that's the big thing I want you to kind of take away from today with seeing some of these setups. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for today. I appreciate you stopping by. We'll do it again. Let's see here. Later in June, there'll be a couple days where I'll be on the road taking some vacation, so we won't be doing them then. But yeah, we'll be doing this again next week. Appreciate it. Appreciate you all stopping by, spending your time here with us this morning. Love what Nadex is doing. They have a lot of great tools on the site too. And please feel free to stop by our site if you have any questions. And let's see here if I can get this to work right. I'll try that again. Yeah, you can contact us at gbebinary.com. You can go visit our website, find out more about the course I put together a couple years back. If you wish to do that, you could also contact our office, find out either through email here at support@gbmembers.com, or there's our phone number. We're real people. We're in the southern portion of Oregon, down in the Rogue River Valley, and that's our phone number. You're welcome to give us a holler. We are open 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific time, real people. And feel free to stop by or give us a holler, find out more about us. Whatever we can do for you, we are here to help. Appreciate you all being here. Have a great day. We'll see you again next week. I'm Jim Prince. God bless. We'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.